Hello guys, this is the 13th tutorial in this course, and in this tutorial we are going to talk about the if statement in Python. And the if statement allows us to evaluate expressions or conditions and do stuff on the basis of whether the condition is true or false. So what I'm going to do is create a very simple script and illustrate the if statement to you through that script, right? So I have my Python IDLE here, and what I'll do is I'll press Ctrl N, and you can alternatively also go to File and then select New File, and when I do that, this window opens up, so I can type in some code for a script and then save it and then execute it in the Python environment, right? So in the script, what we're going to do is I create a variable and I'll give it the value 50. I'll call it myvar and I'll give it the value 50, and then I'll use the if statement to check whether the variable's value is less than 100 or not. And if it is 100, then I'll display a message using the print statement. If it's not 100, we're not going to do anything, right? So we're just going to see the if statement, and this is the simplest example I could come up with. So I'll type in if and then the name of my variable, which is myvar. I'll use the less than operator here, and then I'll type in the number 100 because we want to check whether the value is less than 100 or not, and then I'll put in the colon, and when I press the enter key, I see that the cursor blinks on a new line, but it blinks a few character spaces ahead, right? So in Python, this is how you enter a block of code. All statements that are at the same level of indentation happen to be in the same block of code. So whereas in the main program everything works without any space, whereas if you get inside a block of code, then you have to indent your code by a given number of space characters. So if you're working with a text editor, not the Python IDLE, and if your text editor does not support Python programming, if you're using something like Notepad, for instance, even if you pre-save your file with the py extension, it's not going to detect whether you're typing Python code or PHP code or code from some other language, and it's not going to have this indentation ready for you. You'd have to manually get in a few space characters, and convention is that you have 5 characters of space, right? 1 tab or 5 characters of space, and that's how the beginning or end of code is marked in Python. And this can be a little tricky for people to get used to, particularly guys who programmed in other languages like C++ or Java, in which you use the curly braces to mark the beginning or end of your code. In Python you don't have curly braces, and this is just how the developers wanted to make the language. They didn't like curly braces, so they just thought that, okay, we're going to use space characters instead of using curly braces. So this is how it is. And the only problem with this is that if you have like one block of code, and in that you have another statement, and you get into another block of code, and then you get another block of code, then your code keeps shifting towards the right. And that can be a little tricky because I have worked on websites earlier in which the code was so much towards the right that I had to use a scroll bar to actually go towards the right and see the code. But then intelligent programmers, they get over that too. They logically organize their programs in such a way that they don't have to shift too much towards the right. So anyway, let's get back to the program, and as I said, we're going to display a message if the if the expression evaluates to true. So I'll use the print statement, the print function, and wait a second, I have to get rid of this extra p, and then in double quotes I'll just display something like you are short of being 100%, right? And when I press the enter key here, I see that the cursor blinks just below the alphabet P of the print function here. So Python is ready for me to type another statement within the block of if. But if I want to exit the block of if and get back in the block of main, I simply have to press the backspace key on my keyboard, and I'm back at the level of if. So now I'm outside the block of if, and we'll see that when we execute the program. And I'll just have another print function here, just display something like goodbye. I'll save the program as I'll save it on my desktop. I'll give it the name if, and when I go to run and click on run module, I see both the sentences in the output window. So I see you are short of being 100%, and I also see goodbye. And that's not because they both happen to be within the block of if. First the variable was created, it was initialized with 50, then the comparison was made, and since this expression valued true, this print statement was executed, and then the control was returned to the main program, and then this print function was executed. But if I change the value of my var to 150 instead of 50, save the file and run the program, then obviously this sentence is not going to appear in the output. So I'll execute it, and there you go, I just see the message goodbye. So that's it about the if statement. In the next tutorial we're going to talk about the if else statement, and I hope you guys had fun watching this tutorial.